It's the most exciting part of the show, right? Hit the record button.
Hit the record button and just be naturally smiling and happy. Hi.
Hey, now I'm sitting with a bunch of junk around me. See, this is interesting. This is an old camera. Did you see me just go out of
Oh,
focus?
it's focusing. All right. Well, let's see what happens for the people listening on iTunes. Tom got a little hazy there for a second, but it fixed itself. We'll find out what happens. I mean,
I mean, it's old technology, but it's not a wide fish angle lens like I've been using.
right. And what's your name, kind sir?
My name is Ivan Ketchebuck. No, Tom Wise. My name's
I'm Linda McKinsey.
I'm broadcasting live from Tarpon Springs near Tampa, Florida.
That's right. And I am broadcasting from Brooklyn, New York. And we're going to unpack some shit with you today.
Amen. Gosh, it's been so warm here. Finally, tomorrow is supposed to get cool. Finally, I mean, it's been touching 90 degrees in November, which is crazy.
No, that is great. Well, for New York, it's been warm. It's in the 40s and 50s. It was in the 60s the other day, but they're predicting our first snow tomorrow. I'm excited. Yeah.
I love a Thanksgiving snow.
Yeah. I hope that happens. I'm super excited about it. So we'll see. Let me ask you, what are your topics today, Tom?
I've got people who complain about not being in relationships who were in relationships.
Oh, that's a real thing.
And then another one is lessons pets teach us.
Oh, I automatically assume that's going to be sweet.
And what are your topics?
Oh, well, my topics. Okay, morning routine, songs for life. Where did that come from? Dumb things we believed as kids, passion play lessons, and online dating with shirtless men.
I thought we put a bow on that last week.
What? Shirtless men?
Well, the shirtless and the fishing.
No, this has nothing to do with fish, baby.
All right.
Nothing.
Go ahead. You pick one of yours, please. They all sounded fascinating.
Okay. All right. Let's do dumb things we believed as kids.
All right.
So, off the top of your head, I obviously have thought about this ahead of time. And what I like about our show is that you and I don't talk ahead of time, so it can be very spontaneous, like a real life conversation, like real life people do. So, while I'm stalling for time, can you think of anything that you believed as a kid that later on you learned, maybe that wasn't the brightest thing I've ever thought?
Well, I think we mentioned this in one of our last shows about I had no idea about sex, and I thought you took a pee inside of a lady.
Yeah.
That was a dumb thing.
How did you learn different? Did someone tell you, or what happened?
I think I did the math myself. I mean, after I discovered masturbation, it's like, there seems to be something else that's coming out, and along with the urine at the same time.
I will tell you what, though, Tom. That's really not a dumb question because I don't know at what age did you learn sex ed at school?
Zero.
Okay, cool. So I was in 5th grade. As I have bragged before, I went to school in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it was a very progressive school.
Of course,
and
bragging on Hawaii.
I like to brag about that because it changed my life.
The hillbillies in Indiana.
We learned about sex ed, and they separate us, right? Boys and girls. We had our own little videos, but then they would put us together for questions, and they would have us write the questions down so we wouldn't have to embarrassingly ask them in person. But then the teacher would read the question aloud in front of everybody. Okay. And it was just a very exciting time. Like, what's the teacher going to read? And one of the questions was about, would you pee inside of a woman? Now, I actually remember that because I remember the question being asked and thinking, dear God, I never thought about that. I hope that's not true. And all the kids laughing and the teacher being very angry because it wasn't funny. And we're going to take this sex ed serious. So I think other boys must have stopped because that's what you use it for, right? You pee.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only use I had of it up to that point.
So that's a good one.
I'm working on material. I'm working on a joke that I tell about me telling a joke when I was a kid, repeating an adult joke that I don't even know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
The words are, they're sexual words, but I don't know what I'm saying. But I like telling jokes and people are laughing. So I'm telling a joke. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. I remember when we were taking sex ed, my parents didn't really talk about sex, and I would come home, and because I do like to talk about things, I do remember telling my mom that I was learning about penises. And I remember my mom and dad being very like, well, go play now. That's enough, little missy. I remember them feeling, I got the look of the face and the body language of like, and you're done. And so I just went outside and played. But I remember I couldn't wait to tell them about penises because I had no idea.
How do you know? Well, that's the old. How about another old joke? May I tell another old joke? A quick.
Tell it.
Two kids are at the sandbox. They're 6 years old, and Jimmy brings in a new blue bike. Look at, I got a new blue bike, and so Sally goes off crying. Right. The
Yeah.
next day, Sally shows up. Oh, I got a new blue bike, and he goes, "Who gives a shit? I've got a new red wagon." And then she goes home crying. And the next day, she shows up. Oh, look, I got a new red wagon. She goes, "I don't care about that. Look what I got." And he pulls down his pants. And then she goes home crying. And the next day she comes back to the sandbox and she's smiling. Now Billy knows a little something about what's going on, so he's confused. And he goes, "Why's that?" He goes. Then she pulls down her pants. And Mom says, "I got one of these, and I can have as many of those as I want."
Oh, but I think boys would really like that joke.
Wow.
I'm sorry, man. I could fake laugh. I mean, it's a good dad joke.
It's a women empowering joke. She doesn't need that thing because she can have as many of those things as she wants.
We can have dick anytime we want. But
No more jokes.
Is that a song?
No,
That should be a song.
I booked that. Booked the
That should be
studio.
the song. Listen, when I was in elementary school, I believed, and I don't know if I made it up or my parents told me, that if you were awake when Santa flew over your house in his sleigh, he wouldn't stop and give you toys. And I would panic about that. I would panic and be afraid, like, oh, please let me sleep. I need the toy. I remember being very nervous every Christmas that I needed to be unconscious.
It was confusing in my house. There was a little bit of Santa. We'd go visit Santa. I don't know that I was completely on board. I think there was a logical part of my brain that says, how can you get to everyone's house at the same time?
Huh?
And also, there was a gap. There's 8 kids in my family.
Right.
There were 5, and then there was a gap of 4 years, and then there was us 3. Okay. 5 were separated by, they had 5 and 8 years. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So they would unwrap their present. They'd shuffle us off to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve. And then my brothers and sisters would open up their presents then at Christmas Eve. And then me, Jimmy, and Patrick will come down that morning, and our presents would be there, stacked up on the couch.
Wow.
Under the tree. So, there was a blizzard of questions. Is why are my brothers and sisters getting presents now, and we're waiting till later? And what's going on? Where's Santa? I had questions.
Why Santa? Why?
Why Santa?
I remember, I don't know if I told you this story or not. My daughter, Alexandra, told me, and this was fascinating, when she was a little kid.
That's a made-up name. Go on.
Yes, Alexandra Kylie. She told me when she was a little kid, she felt sorry for me because whenever she would see pictures of me as a small child, the photos were in black and white, as was the time of the era when I was born in 1961. And in her little kid brain, she thought the whole world was in black and white. And at some point, everything turned color. And she felt sorry that I was raised in just a black and white world.
That's incredible. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
It really is, though. But you never know what kids think. And she said, she felt so bad, so she didn't want to mention it. Like, oh, when did the world turn color? Like, what a shame for you.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thought.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I want to hear your topic about the people that complain when they're not in a relationship.
I'm like, oh, here's me. This is good. In and out of focus. Well, I'm like on a Facebook single site on Tampa Dating or whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Mostly it's complaining.
What's the point? How do you date if you're complaining?
I don't know. Then there's rules like this is not, and then there's a moderator in charge. This is not a dating site. This is just singles chatting together. And they're trying to make, what are we doing here? What's going on?
It doesn't make make any sense at all.
Oh no, they're very strict. No private messaging, no direct messaging. If you want to ask somebody out, you've got to ask them out in a public forum, like via on the forum.
Control adults like that. That's ridiculous.
It's insane. I'm like, what's going on here? This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's funny how controlling people want to be. They want to control who you're interacting with.
No. And so is that what happens on the site then? People complain about not dating?
Oh, and then forget about if you know anything that has a hint of sexuality is just, crushed. You're banned.
That does not sound like a fun site.
It is not a fun site. I stumbled. I became a member long ago, and I stumble in every now and again. It's like, you have a drink and you stumble into a room.
What's the main complaint about not dating? Like, do they say,
Where are all the good men? Where are all the good women? Are there any men left? Are there any women left? It's like, I want to get all of them in a room because frankly, if they had it really going on, they wouldn't be in this like me, get everybody in a room and go, here's what I'm going to do. You are now matched up with her.
Yeah.
You are now matched up with him. Just match them up because you're never going to figure it out. It's a bunch of 4s trying to date 8s.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I mean, dating is frustrating no matter what. But if you come across with that attitude of where are all the good men, you only need one. So settle down. You just need one.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, at some point these people were in relationships. At some point you weren't in love with somebody. At some point you fell out of love or whatever, something happened, and now you're by yourself. I mean, that's a very common dynamic. Every relationship I've ever been in hasn't worked out.
Same.
Right? Same. But I'm saying you've got to own that to a certain degree. You got to say, hey, if I would have nurtured this, or I would have changed a little bit, or I would have been more aware, instead you're just complaining about, are you improving yourself? Are you reading books? Are you exercising? Are you watching what you're intaking in your brain? Are you watching what you're saying? Are you a positive person? Right? And so I'm like, this is just a mess. These folks are just angry. I mean, it's
easier to complain though, isn't it? It's just easier to complain and blame the other person instead of owning this stuff. Because I'm in the same boat. Not one of my relationships have worked out. That's why I'm single.
Right. That's just a fact.
It's just a fact. And I'll own it. I'm just as responsible as the other person because it takes 2 people to decide if a relationship works or not.
I mean, at some point you looked at somebody and said, hey, let's give this a try. We're hitting on enough cylinders that I think that this could go. And we're going to give it a try. We're going to, and then something went wrong. Something went horribly wrong.
Horribly wrong. And you never want to see or hear from them again. Because how do you go?
Cooking a hot dog, that you're okay with that.
I've thought a lot about that. How you go from loving a person, being intimate, not just sexually, but emotionally too. And then something happens where you're completely estranged. I don't know if it's happened to you because it sounds like you've gotten very good
it's mostly all good. Yes.
Yeah. And so I find that disturbing that you can go from being emotionally connected to I never want to see or hear from you again. That's disturbing as well.
Yeah, I guess because if you've exposed yourself on a certain level and you've been rejected for whatever reason or whatever, then you just are becoming it's a sore tooth, raw nerve.
It's a raw nerve for sure. Well, Galen was asking me about shirtless men. She said, what is it about men? And it has just do it. Just take the shirt off. You tell me, Tom, have you ever posted a shirtless poster on any of your dating sites?
No, because I'm not fat, but I'm not fit either.
Okay. Is that the only reason why? Because you don't feel like
if you spend 3 hours a day in the gym or 20 hours a week and you were working on something, it's like, yeah, I might come up with like Matthew McConaughey, a reason to get my shirt off in a picture.
Do you feel like if women talk about men without their shirts on, do you think it's a draw for us that's something we're like, all right, obviously he's really focused on his body?
I think it's one of those things that it's a plus if you're attracted to the person. It's a minus if you're not. Look at that son of a bitch. Nobody's interested in your abs. Oh, look at that. And then if it's Matthew McConaughey, I don't think anyone's turning the page.
Yeah.
Right? Well, so we don't want Matthew McConaughey with the shirt off?
I don't like Matthew McConaughey. I'm not drawn to him at all. I find I look at him and he looks dirty and smelly to me.
All right, all right, all right.
Looks unclean, and I think he's weird. But good for him. He's got a great career. He's made a lot of money. He has great for me. And I'm also not drawn to Brad Pitt either. I think he seems like gross. He seems gross to me. He seems dirty, and I don't know.
What about Christian Bale?
Oh, he's a mental case. I can't hang out with Christian Bale, but good for him. He's got a great career. He's done great things. It's just not for me. Christian Bale's not for me.
So you don't want to ever see a picture of a man with a shirt off?
I didn't say I didn't want to see it, but I wouldn't date it, because I feel like if a guy in a public format is doing a shirtless picture, it gives me an idea that he feels like that's what he has to rely on. I'm not saying I'm right.
No,
I'm just,
there's no right or
what I'm
wrong.
thinking.
You're pretty much wrong on that one.
He's relying on the physical stuff, and it's also telling me in my story making that he puts a lot of emphasis on his body. Therefore, I'm going to have a certain amount of pressure.
Well, what about old man Cuomo?
Has he ever done a shirtless thing?
Yeah, MFR's got a nipple ring.
Does Cuomo have a nipple ring? No, he does. Cuomo does? I can't date him then. I'm not dating a guy with a nipple ring. I can't do that. I mean, good for him. I'm not down with it. I'm just not down with that. But what Galen said was, and I have to agree with her.
You're abandoning your whole Cuomo thing just right like that?
That's why I don't stay in relationships. I'm easy to flip.
You weren't even in it.
If he has a nipple ring, that's a whole other thing I'm just not interested in. I'm just not interested in guys with nipple rings. I mean, if he had a funny story, but if the world knows he has a nipple ring, that means he's proud of it and he's sharing it. And then
I think he was wearing it. He was wearing a business shirt, and then he took his jacket off, and you could see the nipple ring through his shirt. That's the only reason American knows.
Actually, fucking hilarious that he has a nipple ring, if that's really true, or is it just a weird rumor to jazz him up?
No, I think it's legitimate. Shall I look it up now while you talk about something else?
Now I'm gonna start searching nipple rings, and I'm gonna get all kinds of weird ads on my phone. Searching nipple rings. Well, but Galen and I have to agree on this, that when a guy does that, it gives you a different impression of him because he's willing to show the whole world and make that the draw.
Right.
For me, I feel like I would like for you to have more than that. If you don't have a shirtless picture and then you take your shirt off after we're in a relationship and you have a good body, of course that's a bonus. But I don't want to start a unless I was a fitness instructor or someone that was really into that stuff. Does he really have a nipple ring? I don't know. I can't see it from here. It's too shiny and reflective. Is that what that is?
That's your boy.
Andrew. I'm not interested. He'll want me to get a nipple ring and I don't want to do it. Why do guys get nipple rings? Why? I just broke up with someone I haven't even started dating yet. Ridiculous. This is my life though.
How about you becoming a little bit more open-minded?
Like right now?
Yeah, you got a few minutes.
Okay, here's the thing.
I'm not a fan of it. My nipples are too sensitive. I don't want anybody touching them or pulling them or.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Of course, I would still go out with him, and I would have a lot of questions about the nipple ring. Of course, I would. But it does lower his draw as far as I'm concerned. It lowers it in my book. I'm not as drawn now. He's getting a little of the shine worn off of the hero complex.
I mean, that was kind of a crazy nipple run, wasn't it?
Oh, it seems like it's a complicated one because it's got some bumps and stuff. So what?
Paper clips with the
Is it like a mermaid? Like what is it? It's not just a circle. Damn it, Andrew! Damn it!
Well, he and his brother, they're both kind of into lifting.
Do lifters
know anything about the man you love or not?
No, I was saying, do guys that lift weights are they into nipple rings? I never knew that.
I don't know that it's one that goes with the other.
And well, you know what? Everybody's got their things. Good for him. But now I gotta start my search all over again. I'll still go out with him, but I'm not a fan of the ring. I would have to ask him on the first date, what the hell is that about? Not in a bad way, not in a what the fuck have you done? Because he owes me nothing. But hey, want to talk about the nips? Let's just bring it up right now. I'll talk about mine if you want to talk about yours. Let's talk about nips.
Well, that's an interesting thing. The whole tattoo nipple culture, piercing culture has passed me by, but it's
Yeah.
certainly amongst us. And if you're going to start eliminating people that have the, you know, little tattoo or a piercing, you might just missing out on some nice people.
I've dated people with tattoos. I'm not going to eliminate Andrew. I'm just saying that it makes me have different kinds of thoughts. I'm not saying people with nipple rings are bad, but that's a choice. That's a big choice.
Absolutely. No, I had the same conversation with my girls.
It's a big choice.
You know, one of them wanted to have one of those bar things in their nose, and they ended up getting that.
Yeah.
Like, but you have to watch out, be careful how people will perceive you. They'll perceive you as one way, and especially sometimes in a negative way. If you're a woman, you're pierced in an interesting fashion, they take it as a sexual signal.
I mean, listen, we all do it every day. How do we dress? How do we style our hair? How do we put ourselves out in the world? I mean, people can complain about it, but it's a real thing. How you put yourself out in the world is how you want to be perceived.
So Cuomo is sending you a sexual signal.
He's saying he's really into like erotic nipple, what's it called when you hurt yourself? Is there S&M nipple stuff? It's just all about the nipple?
Cutting, self-flagellation.
I don't know, but since we're talking about this, one of my topics is the Passion Play. You know, the book that Christy recommended, Passion Play. I started reading it to get some tips, right? So tell me if you've ever heard of this, because I have two different answers for this, and I'm so curious to get your perspective. In the book, they recommend that men drink the medicine of the 3 peaks. What do you think that is?
Drink the medicine of the 3 peaks. I mean, Mount McKinley.
Well, we're talking about Passion Play. We're talking about Passion Play.
So is the breast a peak?
Yes, that's one. That's one peak. What are the other 2, Tom?
One's tucked between your legs.
Yes, the vagina is one of the peaks. There's one left.
Do I have to?
No. Think about something you want to drink from, not just what would you like to put your mouth on a woman?
My lips.
Thank you. Yes, there you go. You didn't have to go to this scary place, Tom. Here's what it says. It says that Chinese sages say that men need to drink the medicine of the 3 peaks because it enhances overall health and potency. It says that sexually aroused women are thought to produce different secretions from their mouth, their breast, and their clitoris. And so
nobody knows how to pronounce it.
Well, how do you say it?
Clitoris.
Clitoris.
That's how I would say it.
Clitoris. I don't know, man.
There are 2 different ways.
I could just say clit. Okay, so it says non-nursing women secrete a sweet, subtle liquid from their nipples, and it has an invigorating power. So my question for you is, if this is
a doctor, if you're leaking stuff from your nipples and you're not pregnant.
Well, but they're saying that this is a real thing, and they're saying.
Have you ever leaked anything from your nipples when you weren't breastfeeding?
I've never had a guy say, "Wow, what's that coming out of your nips?" Like I've never had that when I wasn't pregnant or whatever. But maybe I've never had anybody work hard enough on them.
You're sitting next to them on the bus.
They're saying that this happens. So here's my question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You can take this one of 2 ways, because remember, they're saying that it has an invigorating power if you do this. Okay, here's the thing.
Talking.
My dog, here's the deal.
Driving everyone nuts. I'll finish that sentence.
You finish it, because I have to open the door, but also before I open the door, I have to move the dog food because the cat is waiting to come in. So I have to bend down because it's a whole fucking system, because the animals rule. So you answer that while I'm gracefully bending over to get up the dog food. I'm so sorry.
It's like a puzzle with Meryl Streep
Be back.
involved when she's got to choose which one of her children does she sacrifice in Sophie's Choice.
Choice.
So you've got to choose to, are you done with your business?
Done.
Oh, fine.
I hate doing that, but she wouldn't stop crying, and she's the boss of me, so I have to do whatever she wants. What's your take on this? I have two different takes. Either one of my takes is, oh, here we go again. The men are doing this because they're going to get some power from it, not because, hey, let's do it to please the woman. I'm going to do this to get power from you.
We're constantly suckling.
Is that what it's about? That
And then when we want to offer you you're horrified.
where's the power we get from that? That's why you guys lie and say it's good for our skin.
I don't know. Either way, we're always on the bad end of the deal.
Yeah, you guys are wrong.
Or both ways.
I'm curious, like, I would like to believe, just like guys want to believe you get a blowjob because we like it. We like it. We want to put your dick in our mouth, right? That's the theory.
There we go. Now I got to hit explicit on the iTunes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, anyway, women would like to believe that you're sucking on our nipples or going down on us because you enjoy it, not because you're taking from us. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So-
I'm not gonna. I want to get a transfusion from a 9-year-old boy because I want to capture the life energy in his blood. That's why we're not vampires trying to suck the life out of the woman we're dating.
Have you been reading QAnon stuff again?
I found out I was all wrong. Trump is the answer.
No, so I thought that was interesting. I think that this book has a lot of very interesting things in it, but when they explained that men need to drink from the 3 peaks because they'll get invigorated,
It's your lady book. How can I get defended?
well, I'm not saying to defend it. I'm just curious.
I have never thought of suckling on a woman in order to gain energy. Seems like
Now you can. That's the beauty of it. Now you can. Even when you don't want to suck on a nipple, you're like, I'm a little tired.
Well, we had that talk about a couple weeks ago about if a woman wants to get pregnant, they're suggesting that they give oral pleasure to their man, so their their bodies become accommodating and used to the DNA and become a more receptive vessel in order to have children. Then you went off on a tangent, and that's when I titled that one "Angry Again."
I went to a 9, as Tom would say.
So, no, I enjoy all those 3 spots, but I'm never thinking this is replacing
What do I get?
a 7-Eleven energy drink.
Do you ever time yourself and go, I've been down here?
That's enough. That's enough.
Like, how do you transition or decide? Do you wait till she has an orgasm, or do you just go, look, I've been down here for a while. Now it's time for me to put it in her?
I have a series of flags.
I'm just curious because obviously during sex, we never talk about it. Like 10 down here, 20 over there. It's a flow, right? Everybody kind of.
It's flowing. You're flowing.
Have you ever stopped going down on someone and she's like, you're not done?
I perhaps that's been hey, a little bit longer would be nice. That would be fine. That's I can't remember in this particular instance.
Okay.
That I do recall,
I'm just curious, is it verbal or is it more, instructional?
If she seems to be having a good time, then we're all good.
Okay. And then would you ever just go down on a woman? She has an orgasm.
Go on.
And then she goes to sleep and goes, thank you very much.
That probably has happened. Seems a little cold and calculating.
Oh, well, welcome to being a woman. It happens to us all the time. You guys have sex and have an orgasm, go to sleep, and we haven't.
You're so angry all the time.
It is cold and calculating, and you fell into my woman trap. Here's the thing. A lot of women aren't comfortable acknowledging they haven't had an orgasm. So a lot of times a guy will say, did you come? A woman will say yes.
Yeah, and I've had the conversation with women saying, my orgasm isn't going to be the goal of our sexual togetherness because I'm going to orgasm once out of every 10 times that we have sex. And I'm comfortable with that. I like that. That's fine. I enjoy I like making you happy. I appreciate your efforting, but the more you're focusing on it, the less it's going to happen. Even though I know you said you'll do whatever, it's not a thing with me. I'm fine. I'm not going to have that many orgasms. We're fine.
That's so interesting. Can you imagine if the tables were turned and guys were like, listen,
Yeah,
don't-
don't turn those tables.
I don't need to have an orgasm. Really? How often? I mean, come on, you got to admit, as a man, that's never a conversation I've had with a man. It's like, it's okay. I'm not going to have an orgasm, but if you do, that's really, we're just focusing on the fun in between. I've never had that conversation with a dude.
Really?
I'm dating all the wrong people. You've actually had that conversation where you're okay if you don't have an orgasm?
Yes, because as you get a little bit older, sometimes it's like, okay, well, you're distracted or you're whatever, and it's not working, but I'm still there. I'm enjoying my partner.
That's great. That's great. I need a minute because I didn't know this existed. I really didn't know. I've never had that. I've definitely had the circumstance where I've lied about having an orgasm because I just wanted it to be done. That happens.
Right.
Or I've said, you know what, I'm not done yet. We have to do something else. I'm not finished.
Yeah.
And it's never been received happily. I'll tell you that. It's never been like, that
That's
sounds
too
great.
bad, isn't it?
It is too bad.
Well, plus I tell you this, as I'm getting, it's not as, when you're 18, it's all you can think about. When
Right.
you're 58, you're thinking about it
Yeah.
a little bit less, or it's not as intense.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying, I'm not speaking for a young guy. I'm talking about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, what I've read statistically speaking is with the fame of internet porn, because it's so readily available, it is more difficult for younger guys to reach an orgasm because they're so familiar with jerking off to porn. And as we all know, jerking off to porn is very different than having a live woman where she has needs and and different things need to go on, and there's more pressure, right? When you're with the female,
Yes. No doubt about it.
that it affects men having sex with women because it's not the same, because they're not getting all the same kind of pleasure, and it's affecting people's sex lives.
Yeah, I think people will also retreat into their own sameness now that they can get some sort of pleasure by themselves, with the women with their buzzing toys, which is fine. And then,
Yeah.
internet stuff, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
But it does affect the potential of a relationship if you don't have awareness of that could be happening as well.
Yeah. I mean, because again, there's nothing wrong with porn if you can utilize it in a healthy way. I'm not saying porn is bad, but if you use that as the fill-in and you're not satisfying your partner, then that's a problem.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't want that to be the filler. I mean, I think maybe people can learn stuff from porn, because where do you learn about where's the healthiest way to learn about sex? I'm not saying it's porn, but where do people learn about sex?
We're so unevolved in that area. 50 years, 100 years from now, relationships will be a lot different.
Why don't we put more practice into that? Why aren't we teaching classes? I mean, now there's more sexuality classes and stuff like that in colleges, but really it's something we don't even talk. We don't teach relationships or how to do better in this area.
7th grade, I brought the book it was like a very popular sex book in
Oh, okay.
1960.
I'm trying to think if I know it.
And it's like the teacher, she saw I had the book and it's like, what? I said, yeah, I'm interested in this. So it was kind of like what was that famous couple that did a sex book? Back 50s and 60s.
Is it Masters and Johnson?
Yeah, well, this was kind of like a Masters and Johnson book, but it was the next thing. Everything you wanted to know about sex, but we're afraid to ask was the name.
Yes.
Right? And that came out in 1970-ish, something, 69.
I remember that.
Right? And because you had the sexual revolution with the hippies.
Yes.
So that book came out, and I was reading it. That was a great source of information.
So I wonder why, though, Tom? Why everything else that we invest in, that we study, that we learn about, why aren't we learning about relationships and study? Everybody jokes about dating and sex, but we're not.
Mess. We're getting divorced half the time. Counseling should be like right up front. I mean, I know friends of mine that are in horrible relationships now. And it's like, and they're miserable. It's like there aren't any tools. They don't teach you how to balance your checkbook. They don't teach you about how to be in a relationship. We're going to teach you math so you can work at Walmart and you can be a worker bee. Right?
No,
Society just wants to crank out more people to buy shit and handle the transaction. They're not necessarily vested in your happiness in a relationship or you're even being financially successful. We'd like to put a few more cogs in the wheel.
well,
Cool
if
is
this,
right.
if this pandemic keeps going, maybe we should do online sex courses for people and do question and answer.
Called porn.
They can cover their cameras because people don't like to talk about this, I think, in real life.
Right.
We could do like a Zoom session. They can cover their cameras and then maybe we could talk about it. Cause I think that's been, at least I know in my world of women, I've learned a lot from my other female friends because they'll share details and I'll learn things and go, okay, so that's not weird. And okay, oh yeah. Cause it took me a long time to recognize like it's actually very healthy if I say, hey, I haven't had an orgasm yet, as opposed to not hurting his feelings and going, no, yeah, I did.
All about what the process is. It's all about where you're at. Everybody's got to feel like they're in a safe space. Once you feel you're vulnerable and you can't say something to your partner, you're on the way to going out the door and never participating with that person again.
But how do you build that if people don't know how to talk about it in the first place?
But you can also say that. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not promiscuous, but I've had enough adult relationships where I've had that conversation with people saying, hey, I want you to know, as far as I'm concerned, this is a judgment-free zone. Whatever you want to say is fine. I'm not judging, but I want to make you, satisfied and happy and having a good time. And I hope you wish the same for me. So if I'm doing something you don't like, I mean, I've had some women like, oh, I want you to bite my nipples. Some women are, don't touch my nipples. Well, everybody's different. So please offer that information. I'll respond accordingly.
You know what surprises me, and I had to have a conversation. I don't like to be spanked. And I've dated some guys that will just not say anything and slap your ass in the middle of sex. And I'm like, why? What is that?
Well, you see it on the shows and stuff and on the movie, but you know what? It's all about a mind thing. It's what is it? What is the purpose behind that? If it's not playful and it's dominating, well, maybe you're not down for that. Some people like it though. Some people probably like that a lot.
Yes, but if you've never had the discussion and you're not doing anything that you're being dominated and someone slaps you on the ass, I find it shocking. Like, excuse me, don't hit me.
Right. I get it.
But then it kills the vibe, right? It's the whole, and then it's.
Well, you're trying to introduce something more playful. Maybe he wants something. Maybe he wants to be spanked. Do you ever think about that? Or just thinking about yourself once again?
Only about myself, just me. No, I think I'm a good sexual partner and I am open to stuff, but I guess it's the communication, like you said, where
communication, because it's got to be all done. Let me, and if I spank somebody and they'd say, hey, I'm not down for that. I go, 1,000. Like I was dating a woman that enjoyed being rubbed like everybody does, but didn't like to be scratched.
Okay.
That's the thing. I get it. I don't want you to be uncomfortable.
Right. But how do you know unless you
exactly.
We have to teach a class, man. I think this is going to be our new thing on top of the talking softly and doing the sleep app because people are still struggling with their sleep.
Who was telling me? I was talking to my friend Robin today.
Yeah.
She's met a nice man and they're having fun. She said, oh my God, you've got to work on your app, your sex app, your dating app. She goes, that would be money because, we were right at that point, like, this is awkward to talk about different things. And wouldn't it be nice if we just touched phones and it came up red or it came up green?
Yes. I think that's a great idea. And for people that hadn't listened to that episode, break it down so people understand what we're talking about with the sex app.
Well, I'm saying you because if you want to, I know as a man, I want to date a woman and I want to be, courteous and I want to, invest time and build a foundation of a positive relationship. And I understand everything in its place. And let's not put sex number one, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't want to wake up and find out I've invested, 2 months or 12 dates and, $1,800 and, boat trips and fine day, whining and dining or whatever, only to find out that we're not sexually compatible. It's like we're wasting both of our times.
Yes.
And I'm saying, Well, though all guys are saying that because they do no, because at some point you may you may have as an adult you may have preferences. If a guy says, "Oh, I don't like oral sex," and a woman says, "I got to have oral sex," well,
Right.
you may not be compatible. So I say you come up with a
Right.
questionnaire of 100 questions, very as
Yep.
intimate as you want to get, and then you're on a maybe it is a first date. Maybe it's on Match.com. Maybe it's on Tinder. It doesn't. Before we get started, let's find out if we're compatible. So at least we know that the on the eighth date or sixth date or third date, if we decide to
Yeah.
get going, that we're going to be on the same page. So we're not wasting a
Right.
bunch of time because it's a
Yeah.
lot of emotional energy to try to meet somebody new.
Yeah.
And so you have an app that you fill out 100 questions, she's filled out 100 questions, and you touch phones, and then there's a light that goes on that's green, light green, red, or pink. You know, is an indication that you guys are really compatible or
Yeah.
not compatible. You've got some, you've got 6 deal breakers. I'm not doing anal. I'm
Right.
not, playing with a bunch of toys. Whatever that those deal breakers are. So
Yes.
that's going to force a red response. So then you look at each other, you finish your drinks, and pass. You go look for somebody else.
Yeah.
You didn't wait 8 weeks.
Right.
Women, I mean, maybe guys aren't as patient, but women certainly want to be patient, want to make sure you're getting involved with somebody who's, not using just for your body. And that's why, and a man says, well, yeah, but I don't want to go and wait forever to find out.
Yeah. I mean, it would be terrible to date someone for a certain amount of time and then find out that you're not compatible sexually at all. Maybe someone barely has a sex drive and they don't want to have much, and the other person would like to have sex, every day.
Well, I mean, I tell a little bit almost done with the podcast. We have barely sexual. I took a woman out one time that she was very sexy and had a career in an industry that that certified that she was sexually desirable. Right,
Okay.
a positive career, professional career. Right.
Yeah.
Well, she liked this. She liked this. She selected this man because she was a virgin, and he did not come at her aggressively sexually. So they ended
Okay.
up getting married, and on her wedding night, she comes out of the bathroom with a negligee, and she presents himself to her. She presents herself to him, and he's like watching an NBA game, and he's like, "Yeah, can you move her a little bit? The game's almost over."
On their wedding night? What was wrong with him?
Well, the short answer is
He
his
was gay.
mother, huh?
Gay.
That's what I thought. But his mother had given him like pornography when he was 12 or 15 with the edict, women are evil. This is how you should get your sexuality satisfied through
Yeah.
books and magazines. So he's like, yeah, he wasn't aggressive because he didn't have any interest.
Right.
So she read not aggressive as
Yeah.
being respectful. He's
Yes.
waiting for his prize.
Yes. We should all take a sex class before we invest in a relationship, because I have found that most of us, and maybe it's just me, that you invest in getting the relationship going, and then later you figure out the sex, right? The sex is later. You figure out kind of what
We
you're
want to
into.
know that we're going to be on the same page when we get there.
I mean, it would be smart if we all had a questionnaire so we could know right off the bat.
I did that with the lady once. We started dating. She sent me the here, take this test, and it was like 100 question questionnaire.
What is it? Can we take it for other people? Can we share it?
Yeah, I'll look it up. It was very.
Okay.
It was, I believe it was free, maybe, or at least just $1 or two. It was like an app, and it examining all these things I was talking about.
That's so smart. And this was on a first date?
Nah, we're into it. Probably
Okay.
3.
I love that.
We're getting blood tests and things like that in anticipation of the glorious day.
Okay. Well, and now with the pandemic, I don't even know. That's a whole other layer of dating that I don't even know what to say about. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, because in our society, we don't really talk about sexuality or what we like. And clearly we all would like to have sex with someone that we enjoy.
Of course. Hey,
So
look what I found. I'm starting to clean out the house.
what'd you find? What a show. Tell everybody what the What a Show is.
This is a recording from our show.
Yeah.
9 years ago.
Very nice.
April 28th, 2011.
I'm sure it was hilarious.
Undoubtedly, I got like 5 or 6 of them.
I
That
love
was our
doing
radio show. So that was our radio show back in April.
Yeah, I love doing it. And we had some great topics. You did we did a lot of like we did movie trivia. We had different categories. Patrick would do two truths and a lie. I would do things my mother never told me. And we do a lot of current events. And it was a lot of fun doing that show. And that was
Yeah.
before the pandemic. That was before we even
great.
knew
Yeah,
such a
9 years
thing
ago.
happened. It
I
was
was
really
with Patrick
good.
last night. We were playing music.
Nice.
Did you want to do one more topic, darling, before we call it a day?
Yeah, you want to do a little because it's like 12:47. You want to do a tip of the day?
I can't just bring out a tip of the day.
Dude, you have a lot of good thoughts. You can just bring out a tip for the day.
Oh, how about this? Our tip is going to be we're going to introduce love questions to the show.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, ask me.
Do you ever think about how it is easier to be nice to someone and break it off when you know that it won't work than to lead someone on and break his heart?
Do I know that it's easier to be nice and break up with him than to lead him on and break his heart? I would say yes. I don't know that I've ever led anybody on.
Women will sometimes lead on a guy that is interested just because they don't want to be lonely. They don't want to be this or this. It happens.
You know what though? I don't do that, Tom, but I will say this. A lot of times men might think you're leading them on when you're not. I mean, I've had this conversation with men before. Sometimes if you're nice to a guy, they automatically think that means you're sexually attracted to them. And that's not always the case. You can be nice to men and
Right.
not want to date them.
But if they've taken you out on a date and you
Well, that's different. Yeah.
continue to date them, but you've kind of backed off your idea of this is a mate or a partner, but then you continue to accept free dinners and blah, blah, blah. And it's a string them along and blah, 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 blah.
No, I do hear women do that. And I will say this, because I'm very blunt and aggressive, I don't do that because I wouldn't be able to hide it.
It's a waste of time, but
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
They like to have their little 3 or 4 men that they shuffle between.
Yeah, lots of women do it, or they'll do it just because they like the meals or whatever. I personally feel like my time's more valuable than spent it wasting theirs and mine. So I'm gonna say no.
There's our tip of the day.
Tip of the day. Don't waste anybody's time, motherfuckers.
I love it. Hey, I got an order for more water lights.
Yes.
Did I tell you that was coming?
No, but I'm excited for you.
Don't tell anybody, but I've taken the water light, the large water light.
Yes.
And it's an emergency light, of course, but now we're adding some technology where it's going to be AC/DC, so you can actually plug it in and use it all the time, and battery powered.
Very exciting.
Business.
Let us know where we can find the water light.
That's going to be out there. It's going to ship from in April to Home Shopping.
Okay, everybody get ready. This is the teaser for the water light.
Exciting. A mere 5 months away.
We're hanging on we're just hanging on. I love the water light. I liked what you did before. It's a water light. It's really good during emergencies. I have a water light. So we'll keep watching for that. So the tip of the day is don't tease anybody. Don't use anybody. All of our time is valuable.
Users are losers.
Users are losers.
All right. And that's actually, my name's Tom Wise.
I'm Melinda Mckinsey.
Go ahead. You do the tag.
Thank you for unpacking some shit with us today.
And that's another one in the can.